The last thing I saw as the police car pulled away from my own house was my sister, Sarah, standing in the doorway, holding my laptop. She wasn't just holding it. She was holding it open, the screen glowing. My final exam timer, the one that decided my entire future, was ticking down to 0. And she gave me this little, triumphant wave, a smirk playing on her lips. The sickest part? My parents were standing right behind her, my mom with her arm around Sarah's shoulder, my dad nodding like she'd just cured cancer. They looked proud. Proud of her. You're probably wondering how I ended up in the back of a cop car, getting kicked out of my own home on the most important day of my academic career. Trust me, it's a ride. And the whole downward spiral, the whole implosion of my life as I knew it, started with something so stupid, so trivial, I still can't believe it. It all started with a $500 handbag. Let's rewind a bit. I'm Mark, I was 20 at the time, and I was in my sophomore year of college, studying engineering. And let me tell you, it was a grind. My scholarship was a demanding one. I had to keep my GPA above a 3.8 or I'd lose it. So, my life was basically a loop of classes, late-night study sessions at the library, and a part-time job on weekends to cover my car insurance and books. I didn't have time for much else. I was focused. I had a plan. Then there was my sister, Sarah, 18, fresh out of high school, and the undisputed princess of the household. If I was the responsible, quiet but driven son, she was the bubbly, charming, and endlessly doted-on daughter. Nothing was ever her fault. If she got a bad grade, the teacher was unfair. If she got into a fight with a friend, the friend was jealous. My parents, for reasons I'll never understand, saw her as this perfect, fragile little thing who could do no wrong. They built a world around her where consequences didn't exist. I was home for the summer, and the pressure was on. My 2 final exams for my summer semester courses were back-to-back online. These weren't just any tests. They were worth 50% of my final grade in each class. Passing them, and passing them well, was everything. My scholarship, my progression into the next year, all of it hinged on these 2 days. I had explained this to my family, probably a dozen times. Please, I just need 2 weeks of peace and quiet to study. This is serious. They'd nod and say, "Of course, honey, we understand." They didn't. They didn't have a clue. The first crack in the foundation appeared about 10 days before my exams. I came home from work and went to my room to grab my wallet. I kept my emergency cash, about $500 I'd saved up from months of working extra shifts, tucked away in a drawer. It was my safety net. It wasn't there. I felt that cold drop in my stomach. I searched my room, thinking maybe I'd moved it. I hadn't. There was only one other person who knew where I kept it, because she'd seen me put it there once. I walked downstairs and found Sarah in the living room, scrolling through her phone, a brand new, ridiculously expensive-looking designer handbag sitting on the couch next to her. It was one she'd been obsessing over for weeks. I tried to be calm. "Hey, Sarah, did you by any chance go in my room today?" She didn't even look up. "Nope." "Are you sure? Because the $500 I had in my drawer is gone." She finally glanced at me, a flicker of annoyance in her eyes. "Oh, that. Yeah, I borrowed it. I was going to tell you. Borrowed it. Not asked. Borrowed. You borrowed it to buy that." I pointed to the handbag. "Sarah, that was my emergency money. My car payment is due next week." She shrugged, a perfect little gesture of indifference. "I'll pay you back. It's not a big deal." "When? When are you going to pay me back?" "It's $500. She rolled her eyes. "God, relax. I'll get it to you. Sometime." And she went back to her phone, dismissing me completely. I was fuming. I went straight to my parents, who were in the kitchen. I laid out the facts, simply and calmly. Sarah took $500 from my room without asking and spent it on a purse. "I need that money for my car payment." My mom looked at me, not with concern, but with a kind of weary disappointment. "Mark, don't be so dramatic. She's your sister. You should be happy to help her out." She was so excited about that bag. I stared at her. "Happy to help?" "She stole from me, Mom." My dad chimed in, not even looking up from the newspaper. "It's not stealing when it's family. You'll get it back. Sarah's good for it." Was she? She'd never held a job for more than a month. Her main source of income was the bank of Mom and Dad. I needed for a specific bill, A bill that's due in a few days, I insisted. It's not just pocket money. We'll figure it out, my mom said, waving her hand dismissively. Now, please, don't upset your sister. She had a stressful day. The conversation was over. I was the bad guy for wanting my own money back. That was the first time I realized that in this house, logic didn't apply. Facts didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was Sarah's happiness. A week passed. The car payment was due in 2 days. Not a word about the money. I found myself in the absurd position of having to beg my own sister for my own money. I found her in her room, trying on outfits in front of her mirror. Sarah, I really need that $500 now, I said, standing in the doorway. And then, the waterworks. Her face crumpled. Tears streamed down her cheeks instantly. It was like a superpower. Oh my God, you are so obsessed with that stupid money, she wailed. I told you I'd pay you back. Why are you bullying me? She ran downstairs, crying hysterically to our parents. I followed, trying to defend myself, but it was useless. They were already comforting her, stroking her hair as she sobbed about how I was harassing her and making her feel like a criminal. My dad turned to me, his face grim with anger. What is wrong with you? Look what you did. You're stressing her out over a few dollars. It's $500. And it's mine. He walked over to his wallet, pulled out 5 $100 bills, and slammed them into my chest. Here, take it. But you owe your sister an apology. You embarrassed her. You need to learn to be more generous and less selfish. I'm very disappointed in you. I just stood there, holding the money, feeling completely insane. I was being punished for being stolen from. I was selfish for wanting my own money. I didn't say a word. I just took the cash, went to my room, and closed the door. I could hear my mom cooing to Sarah downstairs, promising to take her out for ice cream to make her feel better. That night, I realized I wasn't living with my family. I was living in Sarah's world, and I was just a background character. The next week was the beginning of my finals. Hell week. I had my study schedule mapped out by the hour. I needed the house to be quiet. I explained this again at dinner on Sunday night. Guys, this is it. My organic chemistry final is on Tuesday, and my physics final is on Thursday. I literally cannot have any distractions. We know. Honey, we know, my mom said. On Monday, the day before my Argo Chem final, I came home from a final review session to find the house thumping with music. Sarah had 5 of her friends over, and they had turned our living room into their personal clubhouse. Music blasting, shouting, laughing, pizza boxes everywhere. It was my main study space because the Wi-Fi in my upstairs bedroom was notoriously terrible. It would cut out constantly, which was a death sentence for an online exam. I walked in and asked, as politely as I could, "Hey guys, could you please turn the music down a bit? I have a huge exam tomorrow." Sarah shot me a look of pure venom. Oh my God, the world doesn't revolve around you and your stupid tests. It's my house too. We're having fun. Go study in your room if it bothers you so much. Her friends giggled. I felt my face get hot with embarrassment. Sarah, you know the Wi-Fi doesn't work up there. I need it for my online practice exams. Not my problem, she sang, turning the music up a notch. I went to my mom, who was in the garden. Mom, Sarah has her friends over, and they're being really loud. I can't study. You know my exam is tomorrow. She sighed, not taking her eyes off her rose bushes. Mark, they're just teenagers having a good time. Don't be a killjoy. Your sister deserves to relax with her friends. Just put on some headphones and go to your room. I'm sure the Wi-Fi will be fine. It wasn't fine. It cut out 3 times in the first hour. I was so frustrated I wanted to scream. I ended up having to pack up my stuff and drive to a Starbucks, where I studied until they closed, fueled by overpriced coffee and pure rage. I lost 2 hours of precious study time just because my sister couldn't be bothered to show a shred of consideration. I got home late, exhausted and stressed. I had left my laptop charging on the kitchen counter, ready for the morning. It wasn't there. A cold, familiar dread washed over me. I checked the living room, the dining room. Nothing. I quietly went upstairs and pushed open Sarah's door. And there it was, on her floor, under a pile of clothes, next to an empty can of soda. A dark, sticky puddle had pooled on the keyboard. My blood ran cold. I picked it up. Several of the keys were stuck. I tried to turn it on. It sputtered to life. Thankfully, but the keyboard was a mess. I walked into her room, holding the laptop out. She was painting her nails and didn't look up. Sarah, what happened to my laptop? What are you talking about? She said, feigning innocence. There's soda all over the keyboard. I found it under your clothes. She finally looked at it, then at me, and shrugged. Oh, that. I just borrowed it to watch Netflix. I didn't spill anything on it. It was probably like that already. The lie was so blatant, so insulting, it left me speechless for a second. It was like that already? Sarah, this is a $2,000 machine that I need for my exam in 8 hours. Well, stop yelling at me, she shrieked, her voice instantly rising. It was an accident, so she did do it. Of course she did. I didn't even bother arguing. I went straight to my parents' room. I showed them the sticky keys, the puddle of dried soda. I explained, my voice shaking with fury, that this was the laptop I needed for my final exam, the one I had told them all about. My dad looked at it, then looked at me with an expression of profound irritation. For God's sake, Mark. It's just a little spill. Get a damp cloth and clean it up. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. And you're stressing your sister out right before her big dance recital this weekend. Do you ever think about anyone but yourself? My mom nodded in agreement. Your father is right. You have a tendency to overreact. I'm sure the computer is fine. Now, just clean it up and let's have some peace and quiet. I stood there in the doorway of their room, looking at their two faces, united in their delusion. It was like I was speaking a different language. My reality didn't count. My stress didn't count. My future didn't count. All that mattered was protecting Sarah from the slightest hint of responsibility. I said nothing. I just walked away, went to the kitchen, and spent the next hour with Q-tips and rubbing alcohol, trying to unstick the keys on my barely functioning laptop, feeling a level of cold, hard rage I had never experienced before. The next morning was D-Day, my organic chemistry final. I woke up at 6 a.m., feeling sick with anxiety. I managed to get the laptop working well enough. Some keys were still stiff, but it was usable. I made coffee, sat down at the kitchen table, the only place with a stable Wi-Fi signal, and logged into my university's exam portal. The big red button said Begin Exam. I took a deep breath and clicked it. A 2-hour timer appeared in the corner of my screen and started ticking down. The first question popped up. I put my head down and got to work. I was about 10 minutes in, starting to find my rhythm, when all hell broke loose. Sarah came storming down the stairs, her face a mask of theatrical fury. "Where is it?" she screamed, looking directly at me. "Where is what?" I asked, my eyes still glued to the screen. "Sarah, I'm in my exam. Don't play dumb with me," she shrieked. "My necklace. My gold necklace from Grandma. It's gone from my jewelry box, and you were the only one who came into my room last night." I looked up from my laptop, completely bewildered. "What are you talking about? I went into your room to get my laptop that you stole and broke. I didn't touch anything else." By now, my parents had rushed out of their room to see what the commotion was. Sarah ran to them, tears already flowing. "He stole my necklace. Grandma's necklace. I saw him snooping around my room last night. He must have taken it." And just like that, without a single question, without a moment of hesitation, they believed her. They turned on me, their faces a mixture of horror and disgust. "Mark, how could you?" my mom gasped. My dad pointed a finger at me. "Give it back. Right now? I am not playing games." My heart was hammering against my ribs. "I don't have it. I'm telling you, I didn't take it. And I am in the middle of my final exam. The timer is running." I pointed frantically at the screen. My dad scoffed, a look of utter contempt on his face. "You can fail a test. We don't care about your test right now. You stole a family heirloom. We are not letting this go until you confess and give it back." He took a step towards me and reached for the laptop. "This is over until you tell us where it is." "No," I shouted, instinctively pulling the laptop closer. "You don't understand. I can't restart it. This is my only chance." He saw my defiance not as desperation, but as guilt. His face turned purple with rage. "You little thief," he roared, and he lunged forward, yanking the laptop out of my hands. I tried to grab it back, yelling, "Stop! The timer!" He shoved me hard. I stumbled backwards, catching myself on the kitchen counter. I won't have a thief and a liar under my roof, he bellowed. Tell us where it is. He started marching towards my room. If you won't tell us, we'll find it. My mom followed him, whispering, check his drawers, check under his bed. I was in a state of shock, pleading with them, trying to explain that this was all insane, that Sarah was lying, but they couldn't hear me. It was like they were possessed. While they were upstairs, tearing my room apart, Sarah stood at the bottom of the stairs, watching me. She wasn't crying anymore. She just had this little, evil smile on her face. My dad came stomping back down the stairs, empty-handed and even angrier. It's not in there. Where did you hide it, you little punk? He grabbed my arm, his fingers digging into my bicep. I've had it with you. Get out. Get out of my house. He started trying to physically drag me towards the front door. I resisted, trying to wrench my arm free. You're crazy, I yelled. This is insane. And that's when Sarah played her trump card. Seeing us struggling, she ran to the front door, flung it open, and started screaming at the top of her lungs. Help! Somebody help! My brother is attacking my parents. He's violent. Then she pulled out her phone and dialed 911. Her voice was full of fake panic and terror. Yes, please, hurry. My brother, Mark, he's 20, he's attacking us. He's going crazy. My parents are trying to stop him. Please, send someone. I just froze. My dad let go of my arm. We both stared at her. The line between reality and this nightmare had just been completely obliterated. Within 5 minutes, 2 police cars were parked outside my house. 2 officers came to the door. They were met by a hysterical, sobbing Sarah who told them her violent brother had stolen from her and then assaulted our father when confronted. My parents, looking shaken and pale, backed up her story. They told the police that I had a temper problem and that they just wanted me removed from the house to de-escalate the situation. The police looked at them, then at me. I was standing there, full of adrenaline and rage, probably looking exactly like the unhinged son they were describing. I tried to explain. She's lying. It's all a lie. I was taking my final exam, my scholarship. They just held up a hand. Son, your parents, the homeowners, want you to leave the premises for a while. We're not here to debate it. It's a domestic dispute. You need to go. They told me to come with them. They were firm, but professional. As they walked me to the patrol car, my dad wouldn't look at me. My mom was crying, but it felt like she was crying for the drama of it all, not for me. And Sarah was just watching. They put me in the back of the car. And that's when it happened. That's the moment that's burned into my brain forever. Through the back window, I saw her. She walked into the kitchen, picked up my laptop, and brought it to the front door so I could see it. She held it up. The exam page was still open. The timer in the corner read 1 minute and 47 seconds. Then it ticked down. 1 minute and 46 seconds. She smiled that little smirk and gave me that little wave, as if to say, game over. I won. The car started moving, and my whole world just collapsed. The police didn't arrest me or charge me with anything. They just drove me about 5 miles away, dropped me at a bus stop, and told me not to go back to the house for at least 24 hours. Let everyone cool off, one of them said, as if this was just some normal family squabble. I had nothing. My phone, my wallet, my keys, all inside the house. I felt like a ghost. I didn't know what to do. The only person I could think of was my best friend, Dave. I walked for about 30 minutes until I found a gas station and begged the clerk to let me use the phone. I called Dave. He picked up on the second ring. My voice was cracking as I tried to explain what happened. I probably sounded like a lunatic. But he just said, "Where are you? I'm coming to get you." He found me sitting on the curb, just staring into space. I got in his car, and the whole story just poured out of me. The money, the laptop, the necklace, the police. He listened to the whole thing without saying a word, just driving. By the time I finished, he had pulled into his driveway. I stayed at Dave's house for the next 3 days. I was a zombie. I used his computer to log into my university account. It was exactly as I'd feared. A 0 on the final exam. My grade in organic chemistry was an F. My GPA had plummeted. I got the official email the next day. My scholarship had been suspended. I felt hollowed out. Everything I had worked for, every late night, every sacrifice, had been erased in a single morning because of a lie. My parents had tried calling Dave's phone, which I'd given the police as a contact, but I told him not to answer. I couldn't speak to them. What was there to say? On the third day, something incredible happened. Dave's mom was cleaning out his car, gathering up trash from a party he'd been to the week before. Sarah had been there, and in the side pocket of the passenger door, tucked inside a crumpled-up jacket that Sarah had left behind, was a little gold necklace. Dave's mom brought it inside. "Isn't this that necklace Sarah is always wearing? The one her grandmother gave her." Dave and I just stared at it. Then we stared at each other. It was the stolen necklace. She hadn't been wearing it that morning. She hadn't even known where it was. She had lost it a week ago and, in her twisted little mind, had decided to use its absence as the perfect weapon to destroy me. Seeing that necklace didn't make me angry. It didn't make me sad. It was like a switch flipped in my brain. All the emotion just drained away and was replaced by a kind of cold, quiet clarity. I knew exactly what I had to do. First, I called my academic advisor. I told her the entire, unvarnished story. I emailed her a picture of the necklace, with a note from Dave's mom explaining where and when she found it. The university was surprisingly understanding. They said given the extreme and documented domestic circumstances, they would allow me to take an emergency withdrawal from the semester. The Fs would be wiped from my record. My GPA would be preserved. I'd have to retake the courses and pay for them myself, but my academic career wasn't over. It was a lifeline. Next, I went to my bank and withdrew every cent from my savings account. It wasn't a lot, but it was mine. Then, with Dave and his mom flanking me for support, I went back to the house. I had Dave's mom call first to make sure they were home. They were. We walked in. The three of them, my mom, my dad, and Sarah, were sitting in the living room, looking like they were in the middle of a very tense conversation. They all looked up when I walked in. My mom started to stand up, her face full of some emotion I couldn't decipher. "Mark, thank God. We were so worried." I didn't let her finish. I walked to the coffee table and I placed the gold necklace right in the middle of it. It made a small clinking sound in the silent room. I looked at Sarah. "You left this in Dave's car over a week ago. His mom found it in your jacket pocket this morning." The color drained from her face. My parents stared at the necklace, then at Sarah, then at me. You could see the gears turning in their heads, the pieces of their perfect little narrative shattering. I thought. Sarah stammered. "I thought you took it." "No," I said, my voice flat and empty. "You didn't think. You lied. You lied, and you called the police, and you cost me my semester and my scholarship." My dad opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time in my life, he looked speechless. My mom started crying. "Mark, we are so sorry. We made a terrible mistake. We were so worried about the necklace." "You weren't worried," I cut her off. "You just chose to believe her instead of me. You always have. You didn't even ask. You didn't even hesitate." I let that hang in the air for a moment. Then I said, "I've withdrawn from the semester. I'm moving out. I've already packed what I need from my room." "You can't move out," my mom cried, reaching for me. "Don't be ridiculous. We're your family. We can fix this." I took a step back. I looked at the three of them, this broken, dysfunctional unit. And I finally said what I needed to say. "No," I said. "You're not my family anymore. She's your family." I looked directly at Sarah, whose face was now streaked with real tears of panic. I was just the other person who lived here. The scapegoat. The one who was always wrong so she could always be right. I turned to Sarah one last time. "Congratulations," I said, with no emotion at all. "You won. You finally got me out of the house. You have them all to yourself now. I hope it was worth it." And with that, I turned around and walked out the door. They called after me, but I didn't stop. Dave and his mom were right behind me. I got in their car, and I didn't look back. That was 6 months ago. I'm living in a small apartment with Dave. I work 2 jobs now, saving up every penny to re-enroll in college next semester. I'm going to finish my degree on my own terms. I haven't spoken to my parents or my sister since that day. I blocked their numbers, their social media, everything. Total no contact. I heard from a cousin that things at home imploded after I left. Without me as a buffer and a villain, Sarah's behavior became their problem 24/7. Her entitlement, her tantrums, her lies, They were now fully directed at them, and they had no one to blame but themselves. Apparently, it hasn't been pretty. They've sent me emails, long, rambling apologies full of excuses. I delete them without reading. It was the worst day of my life, but in a weird way, it was also the day I was set free. It took losing everything to realize that I was living in a cage. Now, I'm building my own life, one that's based on truth and hard work. It's a tough road, but it's mine. So yeah, that's the story of how my family chose a lie over my future. Let me know in the comments, was I too harsh? Did I do the right thing by cutting them off completely? And make sure you subscribe, because the story of what my aunt did when she finally heard the full story from me, well, that's a whole other level of glorious, righteous chaos.